You're listening to the Entrepreneurs Radio Network show on the Vets on Media Network.
I looked out this morning and the sun was gone. Turned on some music to start my day. Lost myself in a song. I closed my eyes and I slipped away.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to the Entrepreneurs Radio Network show. This is Brian Hazelgren, along with my co-host and partner on the show, Shane Chance. Shane is actually in studio today, which is an awesome experience to have her here right across the table. So she's not just calling in like she sometimes does. It's great to have her in studio. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, not only welcome to the show, welcome to a brand new birthday that someone is celebrating today. Today is Shane's birthday. And by the way, I'm going to bring her in right here, right now. Hello, Shane. Happy birthday.
Hey, Brian. Thank you.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Appreciate it.
Hope it's an awesome happy birthday for you as well.
I'm sure it will be. Thanks.
You know, Shane and I were talking about what we should discuss for this particular topic of the show. And as we went back and forth on some of the market needs that are out there, some of the cool devices, some of the cool programs that have been developed, or even some of the new technology that we've seen over the years, and where those technologies or new devices or even new training programs, whatever it may be, wherever they came from, we started thinking about how entrepreneurs actually bring products and services to light, to the market. And so today's show, I thought we'd focus just the first part of the show on why entrepreneurs create new products, why they see a market need, and how they actually go out and solve that market need by creating a product or a service that someone has been thinking about, or they had brought up maybe even at a party, or they had talked about it at the local ball game, watching the kids. There's so many times when products are being developed over the stage of our lifetimes where sometimes you keep thinking, well, hey, why didn't I think of that? This is a cool product. Somebody thought of that, but why didn't I think of that earlier? Or, I'm glad someone has that now. So that's one of the things we want to talk about today, is how great ideas come to light and how entrepreneurs solve market needs. We also want to talk a little bit about, as an entrepreneurial venture, what we see in our own businesses and what we kind of want to shed a light on, and that would be mobile devices or mobile platforms that we really should have our products and services marketed on. Then at the end of the show, we would like to also put together just a fun little special offer for our listeners and some cool things that we want to provide for you, and some discounts on some pretty cool products. But before we get into that, I just wanted to bring up one quick item. And that is, as we always begin the show, we always want to give a big shout out to our military veterans and our active duty military personnel who are around the world, keeping us free, keeping us in the land of the free and the home of the brave. We are grateful for your service. We're grateful for your sacrifice and for your family's sacrifices as well. We live in the greatest country on the planet, and I hope no one will disagree with me on that, because I'm very passionate about our country and keeping our country free and enjoying the liberties and freedoms that we all have. So again, thank you to our military veterans and our military active duty personnel who are out serving currently. This show is always about being dedicated to help entrepreneurs find their dreams. And not only just find their dreams, but figuring out the right type of plan to follow. So if you're ready to start your own company, if you're interested in your existing business and expanding that business that you have, or you would like to dramatically increase your sales, maybe if you need capital or strategic partners or even a business plan, if you'd like to explode your marketing campaign that you currently are working on, or take your passion to a higher level, you've tuned into the right place, because this is what this show's all about. It's an entrepreneurial network where we share insightful and how-to business strategies to help you operate a highly successful business and hopefully help you build a legacy. That's what Shane and I are all about. So Shane, let me bring you in here and let's talk just a little bit about why we came up with these topics, because I know that I was a little goofy and I was saying a few things back and forth that I didn't know what we were going to cover on the show, because there's like 50,000 things that we could focus on. And just so that our listeners all know about, we have so many different things that we've either written about or we've done workshops on or we've created a program for. Today, it's kind of a broad topic. If you think about the important decisions that some of us have to make on where we spend our time, and the types of products that actually roll around in our head sometimes, and why those products could be beneficial. Sometimes we go back and forth, even you and I do, on that type of product that should be launched. As you think about the needs that are out there in the marketplace and why entrepreneurs are so passionate and so driven when they come up with an idea, that sometimes it gets to a point where you can't you can't sleep because you're constantly thinking about that particular idea, or you'd like to launch this because there's such a demanding need out there. You've had that happen in your life as well, with the passion that you share in your protecting mode, in helping women and understanding themselves and being protected, but also the self-defense issue. So when you've had an idea and you've had a passionate thought go through your mind about this particular business or product, what has driven you in the past to say, I've got to put this out into the market and I've got to do it now? I mean, is it literally to a point where we look at it and say, I've got to do it right this moment, and I've got to push things aside, and I literally have to focus on this, but I choose to where I spend my time? Do you ever go through that?
Oh, absolutely. I think the craziest thing and the hardest thing about having an entrepreneurial mindset is that you have a tendency to see all of those different things out there, especially in the areas with which you have the greatest passion. So as a result, you get pulled in a lot of different directions, and it's really, really easy to get distracted. It doesn't matter. You could have a passion for all of them. You kind of have to start identifying which one of these is the top passion that you want to focus on right now. Otherwise, you could get pulled in 20 different directions. And honestly, I have.
So is it almost like a sense where we're walking down the road, we have a great idea, we're going forward on that idea, and we're writing a plan of action, we're out raising capital, and all of a sudden we say, hey, squirrel, I see something new, I want to go over there. Hopefully y'all remember that movie about squirrel. But doesn't that happen a lot, though? I mean, we lose focus sometimes. Well, I guess the first question would be, why do we lose focus? And have we lost our vision of what we originally started off with? And how do we get back to that original vision?
Well, sometimes we do lose focus. That's easy to do because we see a lot of different needs out there and want to meet the needs. I actually used to tell my kids that all the time: see a need, meet a need. So I used that as a parenting tool as well as an entrepreneurial tool. But it was kind of I know for me, it was very easy for me to get distracted, especially because when you are trying to start or build a business, it's hard.
Right.
And I shouldn't say it's hard. It's challenging. It's challenging. There's a lot of aspects to it. And sometimes when you see something else, you think, oh, that might be a little bit easier. Maybe I could focus on that for a little while, and then I'll get back to this. Or, something like that. And I think for me, I've had to really, really, really create a conscious effort to not do that. It took me a lot of years. It took me a lot of years to not get easily distracted by what looked like the next best thing, or what ideas were going on in my head, and the desire to implement so many of them all at once. I really had to narrow that list down and focus on, like, what do I really, really think is the most important, or maybe the top 3 most important things that I really want to do now.
I think that's a great point. Focusing on 3 things. We made a list the other day of different things that we're involved in with the training, with different events that we're doing in the future, looking at a year calendar out. And that list got pretty long. And as the list got longer, we actually started to have to eliminate some of those ideas and those things that we wanted to move forward with. And it really came down to a point where you got to get back to some of those hard decisions you have to make, you have to focus on. And really it drives me to I guess a level of where do I want to focus my time and my attention. And I think it goes beyond that though. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's not just where I want to focus my time and attention. Let's also focus on what is actually going to drive business, what's going to raise the money, because that's how we survive in our companies. That's how we pay our people. We got to focus on the bottom line too. So sometimes there's a balance that has to occur there when you're a small business owner. I'm not saying that I have all that figured out in my life, but I do know that when we get distracted and focus on things that are probably not as important, my particular advice is for all entrepreneurs to take that list and not go through it once a year or every 6 months or even every month. It probably needs to have more of a focus of taking that list because of new meetings that you may have held that are really cool ideas. Try to start figuring out how that is looking like a distraction, and does it look back to the original vision of what the company or idea was started about. And so I think that's kind of an important area. I certainly don't have all the answers. What are some of those thoughts that you have on staying focused on that particular list that you come up with and narrowing that down? How difficult has that been for you in the past where you've had to narrow that list down even further?
Well, I kind of took what we did, and I'd love your feedback on this. I kind of just jumped in and did it this way, but we kind of did a 0, 1, 2, 3 type thing when we were going through this list. And one was, of course, the top priorities, those things that we thought, honestly, would be the most fun.
Gotta have fun.
We have to have fun.
Gotta have fun in business.
And 2, things that we felt like were going to be financially beneficial for us, possibly sooner than some of the other things. And 3, the ones that were really the most burning passions for us, meaning there's a lot of things out there we can do and that we like to do, but there are some things out there that we feel like we have to do. And we need to kind of balance that all out. So for us, we did the 0, 1, 2, 3. 1 was the top. 2 was, okay, this is important, but we could probably put it off a couple of weeks or a couple of months and be okay. 3 was kind of the back burner stuff. So we don't always have to get rid of those things that matter to us, right?
So what if you have a list of 50? What happened to the other 47?
You do the 0, 1, 2, 3,
Still the one.
and you go
Okay,
through it,
all right,
and then
that
go
makes
through and
sense.
keep narrowing it down. And you can have several ones. It's okay. It's okay to have more than one thing you're working on, as long as they don't overwhelm you or take you away from what your original goal is. And you're right. When you have meetings and things like that, sometimes you have to go, okay, we need to go back to the list and sit down and make sure that this still makes sense.
Right.
So, but we did that. The zeros were the ones we decided to just totally eliminate. But it's okay to put some things on the back burner. It gives you something to work towards.
Okay, good. Adam,
I like
what do
to
you think?
we call that, James and I call that our wish list. And there's a lot of things as far as excuse me, new tools and product and stuff like that we want. So we add that to the list and we're like, okay, we'll just knock this out. We'll knock this out. But you're talking about balance. And one of the questions I'd like to ask both of you right now is, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a family, whether you're married or you're a single parent, how do you manage that work life and family life when you're first starting off? Is that something that you put in your equation is that something that you consider? That's
a great question. I think well, first of all, when you look at the 24 hours in the day, it really comes back to that priority list of what you want to spend your time on. Obviously, the business is going to be very demanding and require most of your time, quite honestly. The fact of the matter, though, is if you do have a spouse or you have children in the mix, then they have to buy into that passion as well. If you don't have their support, it's going to be kind of tough. It's a tough road to hoe. I mean, it's just flat out it. I was raised by entrepreneurial parents. And so I was used to also not only seeing what my mom and dad did together in a real estate company and building apartments and then hiring me at the age of 9 to help to do all the landscaping. I grew up in a family that was the norm. They were always involved in entrepreneurial ventures. Now, my mom and dad worked together on those ventures, whether it was an ice cream store that they owned together, or it was a larger venture in real estate. They work together. Now, does that always work? No, it doesn't always work, but it does strike a chord with all of us that there has to be some type of balance. the balance doesn't necessarily have to, in my opinion, equal 8 hours with the family and 8 hours running the business, because that's quite frankly not reality. But, you know, one thing that I have learned after 6 children is to make sure that their sports events or their piano recitals or their dance recitals or whatever they're involved in are important to me, so that I take time out of the day and stop focusing on work for just a little while and focus more on the family and be there for them. So that's just kind of the way we've run our lives, and it's been really helpful.
You know, it's interesting too, as you mentioned that, Adam, coming from a woman's point of view, there are a lot of women who struggle with that very balance, especially because they have, like me, I had an entrepreneurial mindset at a very young age. And I, on the other hand, was raised with parents who had no concept of the entrepreneurial world. And I was told my whole life I was insane for not, you know, how could I possibly live in a space?
Oh, come on. We're both still being called that.
Okay, true. But I wasn't going to publicly acknowledge that.
Okay. Well, okay, I'm the one that's being called that.
No, I do.
Sorry to drag you down with me there.
It's okay. We wallow there a lot. But anyway, it was, you know, I remember my mother saying, how can you possibly go from paycheck to paycheck and not have any idea what that's going to look like? And for me, I kept thinking how limiting it was for her to know that her paycheck was going to be only this much every week. Had kids at the same time. I had little projects that I was constant in the peripheral that allowed me to pursue that entrepreneurial side of myself. And that's where, you know, I built the foundational part of my business. I didn't start out doing entrepreneurial stuff and building this business as a full-time thing from the very beginning. I started out a little bit at a time, doing stuff on the weekends or at night or when they were in school, different times working around that and trying to create my own balance that I needed to find within my family, because I wanted to be a mother, but I also wanted to own a business. So I had to find that balance too. And it's definitely different for a woman in that space. It's very difficult for women in that space to feel torn and want to be able to do both and not be sure how to do that.
And I know that that's always a little bit different from the man's point of view versus the woman's point of view, because there's different aspects of life that we kind of are responsible for.
Or we choose to be responsible for. And you know what? They're both
how we spend our time, because we don't get back. So if we spend a little bit of time planning out, plans don't always work out as you plan for them. But I think one of the things that I think is important for us to all understand is that it's not just striking a balance in life, but it's kind of being a bit forgiving if you don't go exactly according to plan. Doesn't go. Give you one quick when I used to. We had our beautiful plans drawn out. We ended up on the property. We started trenching for sprinkler systems and trees and all this that was originally drawn up was about 20% of what it ended up being at the end of the day, because we had to change so many things. Apparently, we went into this huge property where there were unbelievably sized boulders about 2 feet below the dirt. Well, okay, we had to bring in heavy equipment and pay more money. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because sometimes the best laid plans don't always turn out the way they normally do or normally should be. And because of that, sometimes then the balance gets out of balance and out of whack. And that's where we have to be a little bit more forgiving and flexible. I think the thing, and if you're watching this, it's kind of like the willow tree. You know, the willow tree just kind of flows along in the wind. I know I'm a little goofy, but it goes back and forth and it doesn't snap. But an oak tree, if the wind gets blowing a little too hard, it snaps right over and it's not flexible enough. And so I think that's one thing that we always have to remember as an entrepreneur and in an entrepreneurial venture is to be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more forgiving of our own selves and our own time, but realize that we have that precious time that we have each day. Like to take a break right now, but just setting up the next segment, we want to get into how entrepreneurs come up with great ideas to solve market needs and how we're going to go about doing that and what we've seen in the past. So I'm Brian Hazelgren. I'm here with Shane Chance. Thank you for tuning into the Entrepreneurs Radio Network show.
Would you like to own a thriving business and help employ local veterans? The Vetraplex Handyman Construction and Landscape business is the opportunity you've been waiting for. The Vetraplex is your gateway to an affordable startup business with 0% financing for qualifying owners. By owning a Vetraplex franchise, you will be hiring veterans, providing them both income and opportunity, while at the same time providing your customers a way to say, thank you for your service to our nation's veterans. For more information, visit vetraplex.org. Again, that's vetraplex.org or call 928-284-2022.
Breaker 19. How about that bandit? You got them ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs hosts over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face-to-face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
You're listening to the Entrepreneurs Radio Network show on the Vets On Media Network.
Welcome back, everyone. Glad to have you with us again today. This is Brian Hazelgren. I'm here with Shane Chance. We're talking about some fun things about that entrepreneurs should know as they're thinking about launching a new venture or running your existing business. Right before the break, we were talking about entrepreneurs coming up with some pretty cool ideas to help solve market needs. But I want to take one step back because Shane brought something up during the break that we had heard last week in another meeting. And why don't you tell everybody about those two words that actually kind of sum up that whole balance issue and staying focused and also trying to move forward and still be a little bit flexible.
Well, it was cool. I actually wrote it down. It struck me so much, but we were having this meeting, and as we were sitting in there in this meeting, we were talking about that same idea of creating plans. And we talked about how, Patton said plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. Well, his comment was that we need to have what he deemed rigid flexibility. So that's what I kind of thought about when you were doing your whole little tree thing.
You like that, huh?
I did. I like that tree.
Yeah.
That was good.
I am the willow tree example over here.
So we will now call you rigid flexibility.
Okay.
No, but I thought that was actually a perfect coined term for what you need when you are an entrepreneur.
And go back to Patton's definition again of planning, because we use that a lot, but say it one more time.
Plans are useless,
Okay.
but planning is indispensable.
All right. So many of you know that are listening in that I've written a lot of books about planning,
Yes.
business plans, marketing plans, strategic plans. So I like the way General Patton put that, because in most cases, when you put the plan together, 3 months later, it's already changed.
Well,
But the problem is we don't go back and adapt or rewrite the plan. We just sometimes stay focused back on that original plan, and we're not flexible enough to move forward.
well, let's go back to your landscaping example. That was a perfect idea. If you had tried to take your original plan and force everything to go through rock,
Oh, wouldn't have worked.
would not have worked. And that's what we have to keep in mind. I thought that was a perfect example, because if we sit there and try to battle going through the rock
Yeah.
to stick with the exact plan we had, not only we're going to lose time, we may lose the whole concept altogether.
And keep in mind too, just a little disclaimer here. We did go back to the homeowner on this very large property and consult with them and say, oh, by the way, there's a bunch of boulders down here that we can't get through. And we're either going to have to blast our way through or change the design and change the plan. And they like that idea that they could at least be flexible along with us and not have to spend a whole lot more money. So I think back to that entrepreneurial venture and being more customer service oriented, it really came to a point where we just had to say, hey, we have a problem and now we have to solve this problem. And here's what the problem it looks like, but this is what it will look like after if we make a few adaptations and we draw it up a little bit differently. And we all bought in as a team and we went forward. And, by the time we were done, it did actually add some extra time for us, but it wasn't that expensive according to what it really could have been if everybody would have been rigid enough to not be flexible. So that those two words together, being rigid flexibility, of those two things together, that actually summed up what that whole job was about. And so anyway, does that kind of put a bow around that particular point?
It does. And let me just point out, by the same token, at the very end, sometimes what you end up with in the end turns out to be better than what the original plan was, which is sometimes why flexibility is good.
That's a great point. And that's actually what the homeowner said, that it looked better than what we originally drew it up as. So great point.
See?
Great point. You are just brilliant. Have I told you that lately? Okay. So next thing we want to move into is, actually I want to go back to this topic now. Entrepreneurs don't necessarily come up with the greatest ideas. Pause. I know you shouldn't pause on the radio. I had you there though, didn't I? Entrepreneurs don't necessarily come up with the greatest ideas, but they do solve market needs. We can come up with the most wonderful ideas that have ever hit the planet. We can discuss all day long how this idea is going to satisfy market needs. We can also talk about how this particular idea could actually look at an opportunity that could actually be driven into a business. So at the end of the day, as we look to if we look at entrepreneurs and why they look at particular needs that are crying out for a new product or a new service, it does get back to that same adage again, that we do have to still plan. We do still have to write, even though General Patton says all plans are basically useless. We still do have to plan it out. We have to write it out. We have to whiteboard it out. We have to put it down on paper and have our team members buy into it. And not just our team members. I mean, really, where are our resources? If we come up with this great idea, we see that there's a market opportunity, then we have to go gather our resources. Well, that could be tools, capital, people that have to help us, vendors, suppliers. All those resources have to be brought together. Then we have to take that third step and say, oh, all right, now who's going to lead this? Who's going to be the team that's going to lead this venture and make it successful? If we look at all those things together, and if we figure out that at the end of the day, what really is going to drive this is communication, that's where I think I want to focus just a few minutes of time on, is the breakdown in communication in businesses. And Shane, what have you seen over the years where you think about some examples of lack of communication, a breakdown of communication? Have you seen any businesses flourish when communication was a serious issue inside the company? And if not, how do they go about fixing that?
Well, I'm not a relationship specialist.
Okay.
Let's just clarify.
Thank you for that disclaimer. That's awesome.
But
okay, is there an asterisk by that? Okay.
So if you're here for therapy,
see note below.
too
However,
bad. But I am going to say that anytime there's a breakdown in communication in any relationship, you're going to have problems, but especially in a business relationship, because we don't read minds. We don't read minds. And it's important that if we're moving in a direction, one of the things that you and I do quite a bit is discuss the different ideas. We discuss the different things. And I've watched that as you and I, it's kind of that two heads are better than one. As we've gone through, you'll suggest something, I'll talk about something. Pretty soon, by the time we're done, we've created something that's almost a whole new baby that wasn't there when we started, and as we had individual ideas. So the cool thing is that communication that I've noticed as we've done it has allowed us to create something bigger than the separate entities were on their own.
Have you seen also that brainstorming plays a huge role in that? I'm talking back to the communication side, because if you say one thing to me and you've come up with a great idea, we can take that to another level. We can talk about, well, I have these experiences that I think would be pretty cool that might even expound even more upon that particular idea. So that whole brainstorming issue, what I've seen in the past is that even the person that answers, the receptionist that answers the phone, a lot of the ideas that we've come up with in companies in the past have come from people that aren't out on the front lines all the time, making all the decisions or paying all the money or doing all the marketing or creating the sale. It's the people that are actually listening more closely to what the customers are saying. That could even be someone online. But I've seen that in the past where there's individuals in our companies that literally will come up with a pretty cool idea that you kind of cock your head and think, hey, maybe there's something to that. And why? It's because of that communication factor, because they've heard something the customer said or complained about and brought it up, and the team was able to go through and see if there's really some legs to this, if there's truly an opportunity. So I think if we've kind of looking back at how we identify those needs and what we listen to, are there market needs that have been created that are effective in your personal life that you can say, hey, I'm glad somebody came up with that?
Well, I'll tell you, I think we all feel that way. I don't know how many of us, in this day and age don't, sit in our homes and think, gosh, I'm glad I have heat, because I would never make it as a pioneer. I can tell you that much. And I know it's much nicer to know that I can drive, 60 miles in an hour versus having it take me 3 days in a horse and buggy. So I think that there are always things that, we can look at. I think the harder part is when you were talking about in the very beginning, we think, oh, we have these great ideas, or somebody saw something and they went, this is a great idea. What's worse is we go, that was a great idea. I thought about that 20 years ago. Why didn't I do that?
Right. Yeah.
And we get
we've
mad
all
at
done that
ourselves.
before.
Yeah, because we second guess and we question ourselves, especially as an entrepreneur. We really do. We have to take a look at that idea and go, is that really going to make sense? Coming back to what we were talking about just a minute ago, bouncing things off and keeping that open communication. it reminds me of a conversation we were having just earlier about this exact show and what we were going to talk about. And you had the idea or the concept of entrepreneurs, they come up with a great idea, or they don't necessarily come up with great ideas, they solve market needs. And that is true. Entrepreneurs can take a look at what's going around them and they can go, wow, I have an idea that can take something that's already really cool and make it cooler. We were joking about how much, how nice it is that we have pens instead of, hammers and chisels. But, by the same token, everybody's out there going, gosh, I'm really glad I have a computer instead of a typewriter. But they all served a purpose at their time. And somebody took that concept and built on it. I was joking with Brian Adam earlier. I was joking with him because when we were talking about this, I said, and I have to ask, you're never supposed to ask for forgiveness. So I'm not going to ask for forgiveness. Just know that I quote a lot. And my children, when they bury me, my headstone is going to say, here lies mom, queen of quotes. But
Okay.
the reality is when we were talking, I think that they do solve market needs. And that's one great thing about entrepreneurs. But I also believe in a quote that I heard that says, the art of advertising, making you believe you wanted something your whole life you never saw before today.
Oh, I like that.
And the cool thing about that is that's also what entrepreneurs
That's pretty
do.
profound. I like that.
That is also what entrepreneurs do, is they may have a great idea. They may not see a market need, but they may create one because their idea is an awesome idea. So not only do they build and create and make better ideas that are out there, they will actually develop an idea and make it happen.
You just reminded me of a young man that took a course that I taught at the university several years ago. He came up to me this is a business plan course. So their assignment was I gave them the choice. They could take a final exam, which when I said that, I actually threw up in my mouth because I hated final exams. But I gave all the students the opportunity.
Did you really say that out loud?
I shouldn't have said that, but I did. I gave the students the choice. You can take a final exam or you can write a business plan as your final project. And so, of course, all 39 students raised their hand to let's write a business plan. That's our final project. Okay, so now you go through halfway through the semester and a young man named Michael came up to me and he said, Professor Hazelgren, and then I stopped and I said, it's okay, Michael, you can call me Brian. I'm not really a professor. I'm just here as an instructor and a business guy, and I'm teaching you a few things. So he said, okay, Brian, you've scared me to death in this particular idea and concept.
No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry, go ahead.
of actually starting a business venture. And I'm glad I scared him because he was thinking about starting a restaurant. And the idea that he had was not very good and it wasn't going to work. So I held out my hand to give him a high five. And he said, well, I don't understand. I feel like I'm going to fail your course. I said, no. Here, you've already succeeded in the course because you figured out that maybe being an entrepreneur is not for you. That's okay. That's cool. Not a problem here at all on my end, but go through the course, write the business plan as if you were going to start this particular restaurant. And then let's talk about it when you finish it and see if you still want to move forward. Well, he did write the business plan. He did wonderful, actually. And he wrote a great plan, but he never executed it because he felt like this is not me. I'm okay working in a department at a large corporation. He worked for a company that made jewelry and corporate awards, and they're a large company, have about 2,000 employees. So he went off and he said, I'm great with this. Thanks for the good course. Now, let's then fast forward 5 years after he said goodbye and thanks for the course. He calls me up and he said, you were right. I actually wrote a business plan and all that stuff that you taught me at the university, I'm now using. I'm a department manager. I'm starting a new product line. And in fact, I'm also starting a new service that will be online. And it was one of the first things this is back in 2004. It was one of the first thank you cards that ever existed on the internet. And he designed that. Well, he wrote a business plan. He pitched it to the board. The board said, hey, that's pretty cool. Put our money behind that. And we'll give you some additional resources. They launched it. They successfully succeeded. That's not the right way to say it. They successfully launched it. And then they looked back and they said, okay, this is really a cool business opportunity. And he runs that department like a small business. So now if you go to the 30% of the kids that would go through the students that would go through this course, and I taught over 3,500, and only 1,000 of them launched a business. Well, what about the other 70%? That's what's cool about entrepreneurship when they study entrepreneurs, is that the other 70% now can say, I learned innovation, I learned creativity, I learned problem solving, I learned how to balance my life, I learned how to create a new product line, and that's Michael. He created a new product line that has literally helped millions of people with this cool little tool that he developed online, and then this whole new line of jewelry products that he put together. He's an entrepreneur.
Right. We call that entrepreneur.
He's an entrepreneur that works in a large corporation, and that's awesome because he took those things that he learned, that he studied, and it was great. And we're grateful to even know Michael and all the good things that he was about, and has a really cool story to tell. So we're going to cut for break here. I do want to tee up the next area. Tee up. That sounds like a good thing because it'd be great to be golfing as soon as the show's over. Maybe we should go do that. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is the mobile community. And I want to talk very specifically, Shane, about mobile first versus mobile friendly. Let's tee it up now. Mobile first versus mobile friendly. Thanks everyone for listening today. You're listening to the Entrepreneurs Radio Network show. I'm Brian Hazelgren here with Shane Chance. We'll be right back.
Everyone's going to need an attorney at some point in their life. I'm no different. Hey everyone, it's James from Vets On. Whether it was my last will and testament before deployment or my ongoing custody battle for my children during my divorce, I needed help, so I lawyered up. If you need help, I urge you to contact Capstrom Law Firm. Capstrom Law Firm in Springfield, Missouri services clients throughout the state in criminal law, personal injury, and family law. With over 13 years practicing law, Tom Capstrom understands both law and court procedures and how stressful they can be. Let Tom Capstrom Law Firm and his dedicated staff take the stress and worry out of a difficult situation by calling him today. We feel so strong about the work that Tom and his staff are doing that he'll be a monthly guest on the show. Tom is a veteran and a listener, for God's sake, so you know the guy is solid and will fight for you. Give Tom a call today by calling 417-864-0552 or email Tom at capstromlaw.com. And don't forget to tell him that Vets On sent you.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertising.
Breaker, one down. How about that bandit? You got them ears on, son?
Have you ever wanted to be a truck driver? If so, pay attention. If not, pay attention anyway. Southwest Truck Driver Training offers everything you need to get started. You can get hired before you begin training. They've got GI Bill approved training facilities, day, night, or weekend programs to fit your busy schedule. And if you have any questions, no sweat. They've got veteran supportive campuses with veterans on staff to serve you. And on top of that, they have lifetime job placement assistance. Put the pedal to the metal. Call Southwest Truck Driver Training today.
If you or someone you know is looking for a new job or career, you need to visit the pros. National Career Fairs at ncfairs.com. National Career Fairs hosts over 300 career fairs a year nationwide. The events are free and give you the perfect chance to meet some of the top employers in your area face-to-face. To find the nearest career fair to you, visit ncfairs.com. Again, that's ncfairs.com. What are you waiting for?
Would you like to own a thriving business and help employ local veterans? The Vetraplex Handyman Construction and Landscape business is the opportunity you've been waiting for. The Vetraplex is your gateway to an affordable startup business with 0% financing for qualifying owners. By owning a Vetraplex franchise, you will be hiring veterans, providing them both income and opportunity, while at the same time providing your customers a way to say, thank you for your service to our nation's veterans. For more information, visit vetraplex.org. Again, that's vetraplex.org or call 928-284-2022.
You're listening to the Entrepreneurs Radio Network show on the Vets On Media Network.
Welcome back, everyone. I'll try to gain my composure since we were laughing so hard during the break. This is Brian Hazelgren again, along with Shane Chance. And thank you, Adam, for making us all laugh.
I apologize.
We do have, here's the cool thing about running a business is that you got to have fun because life is too stressful. and there's too many things that come across your table, and we got to laugh. It's okay to laugh, right?
You get to pick your tormentors when you're an
I like
entrepreneur.
that. That's a good way to look at it too. All right. So getting back down to maybe a few more serious issues here. Before we went to break, we talked a little bit about mobile first versus mobile friendly. The reason why I bring that up is because I read an article a few weeks ago about the mobile devices that we all have. Now, I have an iPhone. You have an Android. Adam, what kind of phone do you have? You have an iPhone. My iPhone screen is a lot smaller than most Android phones. My sons-in-law, they have the larger screen. Some of our business partners have larger screen Androids. And I
It's
just
like carrying a small TV. in
Oh,
your
it's
pocket
a
now.
tablet.
I don't get
It's
It
huge.
Hold on a second.
It
Yeah.
is,
Let me pull this thing out and let me show you how this huge screen can look better than that little dinky screen that you have. So
It's for when I'm jogging at night.
That's
people
right.
Can see.
yeah.
It feels like we digressed. I mean, we started with this really big brick,
Yep.
and then we went to
Yep.
something that was so small it looked like, and then now we're getting bigger again.
Well, I started looking at their screens and the pictures. I mean, I have, I don't know, like 6 megapixels on my, or 6 or 8 megapixels. Pictures look pretty decent, I think, on my phone, but then they turn their phone around, they take the exact same picture and it's brighter and it's clearer, and they have 16 megapixels on their phone. So I'm starting to think about, as I read this article, not only are we viewing pictures, we're viewing movies, we're viewing videos. And if you actually think about some of the statistics that are driving this, I wanted to share it with everybody about who has a mobile device, and not just the larger screen mobile devices, but let's talk about mobile devices, and then let's talk about smartphone users and what the trend is for 2015 at least. And how things are now being marketed probably more clearly, and even better, a better marketing campaign, because it's no longer just making your website mobile friendly. It's not just about that. It's actually making it mobile first. If your website or your Facebook page is marketing your products and services, does it also include an Android version or an iPhone version or a mobile platform version that they can just pull out of their purse, pull out of their pocket, out of their holster, wherever it may be, and look at your products and services? And does it look the same on that particular smaller screen that it does on a laptop or on a desktop? So I want everybody to start wrapping their minds around mobile first versus mobile friendly, because that's really where we want to get to. And here's the article that I read that pointed out a few very interesting statistics. This is as of the end of 2014, so just 2 months ago, less than 2 months ago. There are 4.5 billion mobile users on the planet today.
Wow.
All right, there's 7 billion total people. There's 4.5 billion mobile users. There's 1.5 billion smartphones on the planet, and that is as of so let's just say that's the first part of 2015, 1.5 billion smartphones that are out there. By the end of 2015, they expect that to be 1.7 billion. By the end of 2017, expectations are that those who use smartphones will be 2.5 billion users across the planet. So ladies and gentlemen, if you own a business or if you're thinking about starting a business, you need to start thinking very clearly and very concisely about considering how and where mobile users are going to be reading about your products and your services and your company, because that's where a lot of people are heading with the platforms that we not only have today and with the devices that have been created and the networks now that can run the videos and not have it refresh or crash on you. We really need to get back or get to a mentality of being mobile first. So I wanted to bring that up and get your thoughts about that, Shane. How you feel about having a mobile device that we all seem to use, but are we in our businesses doing enough of that, and what can we do to do more?
You know, I'm glad you brought this back up. I know we chatted about this a few shows ago, and it is critical. I'm going to think back to an experience that I had with my book when it first came out. Was actually established as an ebook to begin with. It came out as an ebook.
And by the way, your book is called
Story of Lies.
Okay.
Yes. And it was...
That was a selfless plug, by the way. I don't know if you caught that.
Because you are a selfless soul. Thank you, Brian. But the thing about it is that I had several complaints that came in because the system that was being used was not user-friendly for all mobile devices. And so some people were having a hard time. They couldn't even open it up, or they had to save it and then open it up. So there were several different discrepancies.
How was it? Was it in a what format? A PDF format?
It was actually in a PDF format.
Okay.
Now, I do know, because of the differences in the phones and in the mobile devices that we use, it's not always going to look the same on every mobile device as it does on a computer. But I do know that the whole point is that, you know, we like convenience stores. We want the ease of convenience for whatever it is that we are trying to get a hold of. So if it's an ebook, if it's a document, if it's a whatever, it has to be able to be very user-friendly, especially for people like me who aren't very technologically sound. Okay, that sounded like a mental strike to myself. But the point that I'm trying to make is that, especially for people like me, everything needs to can be simplified and easy to use when it comes to these types of devices. So it has to be accessible. It has to be easily used and friendly, and it has to be across the board. So all the mobile devices that we're using need to be able to have some system that they can open it up on, and it needs to be provided in that way as you're creating your business, because mobile phones are now something we carry with us all the time. We're not even going to go into what we talked about before, but some people take them everywhere, and right. I do mean everywhere. So we want to make sure, I mean, from my perspective, that's what we have with us all the time. So we need to be able to access every aspect of what we're trying to do with our business and share every aspect of what we're trying to do with our business, or as much as we can, in a system that works.
Okay, and that system that works, you know, this really is not a technology show.
Good. No technology, no therapy. We're good.
We do not. I don't want to venture down that path. What I do want to say, though, is now let's go back to being a consumer. Okay. I'm a consumer of products, and I like to buy things on my phone. And my kids only buy things, it seems like, on their phones today. They don't even go to the desktop anymore. They're right there on the phone. Or if they want to see the latest update on news and reviews of particular products. I mean, just the other day we were trying to find a restaurant. We pulled up a particular app, and I won't name the app because I don't want to give them free advertising, but we pulled up a particular app, and we found a laundry list of restaurants with different styles to go to. Okay, that was designed several years ago, obviously, and it's very convenient for us to use. But shouldn't that same mentality be for if someone says, "Oh, I heard something about Brian's books or Shane's books, and I want to know more about that," and they can look at that while they're on their phone. And by the way, folks, please don't be driving while you're looking at the phone. Just a little plug there, okay? Just thought I'd pull that.
Safety first.
Safety first. Thank you. So, I mean, really, the point there is to make sure that we as business owners have some way of driving people to not just our website or our Facebook page or any other social media that we may have our products and services on, but making certain that, because most of the people most of the time are going to pull that out of their pocket, out of their purse, out of their holder, and look it up right then and there. So is it mobile friendly? That's one thing that we want to start driving home with this particular show. And one of the issues is, again, mobile first versus mobile friendly. So I think if you also consider about the global market space and where people are, they're busy. They're not always going to be home. They can't be right there to look at the product or the service that you offer right then. And most of the time right then and there means, oh, great, I'm standing in line. I can look it up right here. Or I just thought of something. I want to look this up right now. So that's why I want us all to start wrapping our minds around it being mobile first versus mobile friendly. Now, one other thing. Is there anything else you want to cover on that, by the way, before I move on to any other topics here?
No, I think you're doing great. Carry on.
Oh, wow. That was really nice. Okay.
And you did get that live.
Well, that was a compliment, man. I'm hanging on that one.
There you go.
Wait, does that mean I owe you another $20?
I'll just cut that out and we'll replay that.
Okay,
every time.
We raised that, remember?
That's good. So
It's all about the bottom line. Remember, we're capitalists here.
that's right. How would I ever forget that? You keep reminding me. Oh, I'd never forget that. Speaking about being a capitalist, you have some books and audio on CD to sell. But I do want to, last show we talked about your latest book, Story of Lies, that has just been released. It's also been released on audiobook, and it's a 2-disc set that also is available. In the last couple of minutes we have here in the show today, Shane, tell us a little bit about why you wrote the book and where people can find the book and how they can access it and purchase it.
Well, Story of Lies is really a bit about my own life. I think we talked a bit about it on the last show with the events and things that I went through with my own assaults. There were a lot of stories that were told around that to survive, to get through that. But I realized that a lot of those stories that were being perpetuated both by me and by others around me, not that they intended to, I mean, obviously they were trying to help, but I was never elevated out of that space. I was kind of kept in that space and realized that it was not serving me. So Story of Lies really came about as a way for me to be able to share a little bit of my experiences with people, help them understand not necessarily what I went through in the assault process, but what I went through in the healing process. And the concept is, our lives are often stories of lies. We tell ourselves for whatever reasons. And this is to help people get out of those lies and live a more productive and fulfilling life. I found that even as minor as the lies are, and we usually tell them because they benefit us in some way. Don't get me wrong, I get how it works. But the idea is that we can do much better. So it is a short book, life lessons learned types of chapters where they're short and succinct. And at the end kind of is a few ways in which we can change our stories, write a different story, and heal. So that's kind of what it's about. And I am excited about it. And
You should be. Congratulations. This is kind of cool.
yeah, I just got notification today that the book and the audiobook are both available on Amazon.
Awesome.
So, woo-hoo. And
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you very much. So
We'll also have a link on our Facebook page for the Entrepreneurs Radio Network. There'll also be a link on the brianhazelgren.com site
absolutely.
to your book and to the audio book. So again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to say about that?
Nope, that's good.
All right.
I'm done.
Sorry, I kind of put you on the spot there, didn't I? That was a little, yeah, okay, done.
Done.
As we wrap up today, I do want to, first of all, wish you, Shane, a happy birthday one more time.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
Where's
to
the cake
me.
and the candles? What did we forget, Adam?
It's,
I guess I missed that memo.
Yeah, sorry,
Brian.
That was my fault again. Hey, I own that one. My apologies. That's why I'm saying happy birthday like 17 times on the air.
it's okay. I'll let you make it up to me later.
Okay, sounds good. Here comes a birthday cake with candles. But again, great to have Shane in studio with us today. It's also great to be on the Vets on Media Network. I want to thank Adam Bird for his his leadership and for his skills in helping bring this show to life. And it's always good to have Adam sitting right here, taking control and making sure that we're saying and doing the right things too. So nicely done, Adam. If you do have any questions for us, you can always visit our websites. Certainly go to our Facebook page. Please like us on Facebook. Please go to our page there and like the show. Hopefully you do like the show. Also send us some comments of what we can do to make this show even better, make it come to life even more so for you as an entrepreneur and a small business owner. And those that are also intrapreneurs, as we talked about earlier today with our story about Michael, who created a pretty cool organization for his products that he put together. Once again, I want to say thank you for our veterans and our active duty military personnel and all the great work that they do and the sacrifices that they and their families go about for us to keep us in the land of the free and the home of the brave. And it's because we can live in the land of the free is because of the brave. So thank you, veterans, and thank you, active duty military, once again. I want to leave one more time with this pretty cool well, it's a quote from Abraham Lincoln. Honor to the soldier and sailor everywhere who bravely bears his country's cause. Honor to him and her who braves for the common good, the storms of heaven and the storms of battle. End of quote. Thank you, President Lincoln, for saying that. Hopefully you all have a great day ahead of you. We're looking forward to being with you again on the next show. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm Brian Hazelgren, along with Shane Chance. And thank you again for today, and have an awesome day.
Gave proof through the